Hey everybody, clearing. All right, so the first thing I'm hearing on the shuffle today is, what can we clear up? What are the misunderstandings, if anything, that the divine counterparts have about the other? So let's start with divine masculines. What do the divine masculines misunderstand at this time about the feminine? Thank you, Divine Creator. What is the misunderstanding, if anything? So we got a couple: transformation and foundation. So there's something about what's going on in the divine feminine's lives that are making the divine masculines feel as though that you, divine feminine, are not investing in the connection the same way as in the past or for the future. They are misunderstanding your loyalties, I just heard, because of what it appears to be like to them from their vantage point. So let's see what you divine masculines might need to know. Actually, I'm going to see what is the energetic truth of what's going on. So if the misconception is that the feminines have healed or transformed enough to no longer invest in this connection, resulting in romantic union. So the masculines think that you're withdrawing from the connection, is what I'm getting here. So what is the energetic truth? Or they're just uncertain as to if you are still investing for a romantic potential here. What can we see? Portals, possibilities, and options. So yeah, divine masculines, your divine feminine is keeping their options open. Does that sound familiar? Okay, because if you're not showing up, they don't want to overgive if it's not warranted. Divine masculines, your divine feminine loves themselves, but that does not mean that they no longer love you. What is it we can see for the divine feminines? What are the divine feminines' misconceptions of the divine masculines at this time? Okay, we're getting the Page of Swords and humility. So I'm hearing that the divine feminines think their divine counterpart will never learn. That it's the same old, that it's never going to change, that they're never going to come out of ego, they're never going to be more humble, they're never going to see things a different way, that it's always going to be this back and forth with the ego. So that's a misconception. What is the energetic truth of this for the divine feminines? We got two. The first one is storage, time release, and focused force. So that implies that eventually it's going to turn on a dime and be something different. So divine feminines, it's just not time yet. There's this sharpening stone that's been working away at this becoming energy. So we get also reprogramming, transmutation, stabilization. Yeah, so it's reprogramming under the surface and stabilizing, and then one day when it hits a level of completion, boop, it is something different in the 3D. 99% of the work is done before the manifestation is evident, I just heard. Okay, let's get into divine masculine. What are the DMs thinking of these connections at this time on the conscious mind? What are they thinking of their divine counterpart at this time on the conscious mind? What are they feeling on the heart space for their divine counterpart? What are they feeling on the heart space for the connection and for their divine counterpart. What are the wishes for divine masculines for their own lives and towards these connections? What are the actions the masculines are taking in their own lives and towards these connections? What is the biggest challenge? What is the spirit-guided solution for that challenge? Where are the connections going in the near future, the next few weeks? And what is, I've got the After Tarot. I'm shuffling next. Kind of see what the evolutionary energy is stemming from what we see in the first two cards. So let's see if I can get that together. What are they thinking of the connection? Six of Swords, progress, and Four of Swords. It's like sinking in that there's progress here. Certain things are not what they used to seem like. And so they can't quite put their finger on it. It's dawning on them that something's changed. I just about got the shivers. Yeah, something has changed up in this dynamic. So where is that going? There's a deepening sense of connection. The irony, that whole connection versus commitment thing, it's kind of harmonizing that you can have commitment and connection. My King of Pentacles card in the reverse is sort of either a resistance of commitment or a commitment and connection that's there, whether we call it that or not. It's kind of those in-between energies, or the ironic. And so it's sinking in that this has been a relationship all the way along, that there have been, I'm literally hearing the classic markers of relationship. Even though it hasn't been called one, it's still gone through all of the dance of becoming that a normal relationship in the 3D would go through, but it's been doing that in the energetic realms. So that's what's sort of dawning on the masculines, that this has been that, whether we call it that or not, it's still been happening. Okay, so consciously for you, Divine Feminine, Nine of Swords and the Death card again here. Nine of Swords in the reverse is the ending of anxiety. There is a transformation. There's like this rebirth phoenix energy here. So they are thinking that, yeah, this is reminding me of a while ago, I felt the Divine Masculine polarity saying that they desire to disconnect with the feminine so that when you come back together, when the connections come back together, that it's like meeting for the first time and all the histories can be released, start fresh. That's what I'm feeling here. It's like all the anxiety, the cringe, the triggers, the intensity, the overwhelm. We're starting to see that fade into the distance, and there is a new cycle, a new opportunity, a new energy coming in. Wow. And then to clarify the next step, we get the Tower in the reverse. So this complete internal reworking, a complete new lens to look at this connection through. So yeah, Divine Masculines are very much no longer wanting to hang on to the ways that they were looking at this connection, and you specifically, Divine Feminine. And they're seeing that you're doing that as well. So the direction for the connection is that both are having this radical, fresh eyes. What can we see for the way the Divine Masculines are feeling on the heart space for these connections? Two of Pentacles and Knight of Cups, they're feeling the changes. This is non-verbal, this is intuitive. So they're feeling that something has changed. Exactly, they can't quite put their finger on what has shifted in the dynamic, but it's not as assumed or predictable or obvious as it seemed to be to them in the past about what was what, which way was up, what was happening in this connection. They are now seeing that it's actually a bit different than they first assumed. The moon, secrets coming to light. This is going to be revealed more and more over time, but right now it's hidden. It's catching the masculine's attention, though, that it's not face value. Even though they've known that there was more, that they felt the connection, they hadn't really seen why or how, or in practical terms, what that meant. And now there's a little bit more of a reveal set to unfold, this time capsule energy. What are the masculines feeling for their divine feminine on the heart space? Queen of Wands and Nine of Swords. Whoa, we got this duplicate card again. We had the Nine of Swords with what they are thinking of you, divine feminine. So that was with this unconditional love offer. The Knight of Cups. They are possibly seeing you in enough angst over this connection to finally not be investing in it anymore, and maybe just kind of doing what you will regardless of where they fit in or not. They see you living your life on your terms without maybe needing to consider how they stand in it all. I'm just getting that they see you about to do something that they're not entirely sure how they fit in. So what's going to happen? There is a bit of a sovereign motion coming up here. This is the Seven of Coins, which is a card of investing and tending to the crops and waiting. In the reverse, it's a more immediate, not investing, doing something different than before. So yeah, there is a little bit of uncertainty coming in for the divine masculines. Something has changed up, and they're not sure if it's their anxiety or your anxiety that's causing this. I'm laughing because I feel like it's not anxiety, but it's giving the divine masculine some anxiety. And I do have compassion for that, don't get me wrong, but it's actually progress and healed navigation. It's divine guidance. It's not necessarily coming from that lower vibrational place, which also might be the message here, is that this new lens is looking at things in a glass half full instead of a glass half empty way. So there's this teeter-totter, like it's just about to dawn on the masculines that things can be looked at in a more life-affirming, alive, beneficial, positive way, that the old lens of being cautionary or resistant or overly aloof don't need to apply. When we interpret the things through love, not fear, it becomes clear. So yeah, it feels like divine masculines are on the verge of that here. What are they wishing in their own lives? Eight of Pentacles and the Sun, to see what they need to be doing for work, to be honest. They really need to find out how to have deeper fulfillment on their destined path. So the destined path is coming into sight a little bit more clearly. Divine masculines are desiring to understand what they should be investing their skills into. It's like they're also on the verge of having that. How interesting that these connections are on the verge of being seen in a totally revolutionary, new, productive way. And the divine masculines, you are seeing how your gifts and talents and purpose in the world can be approached in a totally new way, or validated by you in a way that you go from this unassuming sort of who you really are, but you're not really recognizing it for its full glory. And now you're going to see that that part of you that you've been taking for granted, divine masculines, is actually where it's at, what it's all about, and where you should be living and expressing. It is your destined path. It's your core essence. So you're not seeing your core essence yet, divine masculines, but you're also on the verge of that. And when you see that, your divine counterpart makes so much more sense. I just heard the guides saying, your divine counterpart's reflection has been trying to show you this all along, divine masculines. What are the divine masculines wishing for these connections? Queen of Cups and the Fool, taking a leap of faith, being totally intuitively guided, going towards the divine feminine, not fearing that kind of fully alive, brave, spontaneous living. This sinking in card again, Four of Swords, exactly in the reverse like the first time we saw it in this reading. So it's sinking in, it's about to sink in more and more that the end of heartache means being fully aligned with our knowing about how to live our own lives, how to go forward, how to, you know, have it worth the risk, having enough intuitive ability to trust taking steps that we're guided to take on faith, to know that it's worth the risk, to know that it's about no regret living, and not in an adrenaline seeking way, but in an educated knowledge of discernment of energy, so that we can feel into what is of benefit, what is life affirming, what is abundant, and to say yes to it. Because sometimes we can feel what those things are and we self-sabotage because we're afraid of losing it before we even get it. Doing the work means coming into the inner love of self enough to say, I'm worth going for that. I'm not going to excuse myself from saying yes to the opportunity available to me. What are the masculines' actions in their own lives? Warrior of Wands and Justice. Wow, okay. They're seeing that any attempts to engage in things that are short term, it's instant karma. I'm hearing instant backlash, instant consequence. Victory is coming because now divine masculines are learning that all those other things are dead-end streets. They want to be victorious and see where that takes them. This is the destined path, the phoenix about to rise that we just saw in a card before. This is where we no longer need to tempt fate. What are the divine masculines' actions that are bringing them towards the feminines? Eight of Swords, they're freeing themselves by having progressive inner dialogue. They are working through the puzzle of cause and effect, of regret versus living more in alignment with what their heart knows they're meant to do. Coming forward, more swords. This is the 6, 7, and 8. So there's a progression here. It might seem like one step forward, one step back in the energy, but this is a card of strategy. So there are more self-realized strategies, self-conscious strategies that are going to be employed by the masculines to free their mindset regarding physically coming forward to these connections and investing more time into them. There is a different potentiality that they are allowing themselves to see that make it possible to come forward in new ways and not hold back who they authentically are or what they would like to authentically say or do with you, to you, regarding this connection, all of that. There's more transparency coming in and more of a commitment to self. Divine masculines are committing more to being more authentic, especially where this connection is concerned. I'm not getting a lot of emotional transparency, but honesty, at very least, honesty. What is the biggest challenge for the masculines? Seeing clearly what this new way of being can look like. It's uncharted territory, so there is no track record established. So it's kind of this going out on faith. So over the next while, this is my 6-month card, there is going to be new modes, new ways, new uncharacteristic ways of showing up. They're going to try new things. They're going to approach in different ways. They're going to communicate in different ways, or their actions in their lives are going to be different. But this is the challenge, is now making decisions and expressing through this more awakened, enlightened, conscious way of being. So there isn't going to be so much manipulation or premeditation. It's going to be more in flow, because it's second nature, I just heard. So it's more of an easy way to go with the flow and to bring in more conscious acceptance of that. More communication, I just heard. So for some, there will be more expression, more obvious expression, but that is a new way of being that hasn't necessarily been the case in the past. So this is the biggest challenge. What is the solution to this? The Empress and the Five of Pentacles. So abundance and coming out of separation, connecting more and more for legacy with the divine counterpart. So divine masculines are being asked to consider their divine counterpart and their abundance while in this kind of lone wolf, non-attached discovery, exploration. This is reminding me of like an explorer out in a remote area as a lone wolf. It's like uncharted territory. But we have the North Star here guiding the masculines, which does lead to this abundance and the union and the long term. But right now there's a very individuated exploration here. Divine feminine, you might feel like you're on the back burner, but you are here, front row and center. But it goes hand in hand with the divine masculines coming into their self-sustaining abundance. That means emotionally not being bound to others or karmic situations, whether that's family, friends, lovers, co-workers, work situations, living situations, whatever it is. They are removing their need for approval from that scenario they've been giving their power to, because they know that their path of abundance is only theirs. So yeah, divine masculines, keep staying the course, even if it looks like you are being cold to others and declining advances, I just heard. Don't worry about your pride. This is worth it. And divine feminines, your divine masculines might feel very insolvent right now. That does not mean that they are not on track for union. The love is there. Trust that this is a necessary rite of passage for the long term. So there is an investment in the long term by taking accountability. This is where the divine masculines are not afraid to go it alone for the long term. Cut their losses, brave the solo path for a while. I'm getting very clearly that some divine masculines are ending karmic relationships or ending romantic relationships that they thought would either benefit them financially, they're cutting their financial loss, or they're no longer carrying the financial burden of dependent partners. They're seeing how that has been an imbalanced, codependent experience. and that it doesn't ultimately serve anyone involved. So they are learning, divine masculines are learning how to be accountable for their own energy and how that accountability translates to material possessions and finances in partnership. They're seeing that going all in, overcompensating, being codependent is not a long-term solution. And I'm hearing that part of the way that this connection has helped inform them of that is that the two of you offer such deep sacred lessons to each other, and it has nothing to do with financial interdependence or codependency, that your relationship is not dependent on the material realm interactions at all. That it is going through all of the stages of relationship, and that the material realm, finances and assets and all of that have been kept out of it. So they're seeing this foundation of true relationship that has nothing to do with the systems of the world. And they're seeing how your relationship has benefited each other in your own becoming, your own maturation, your own wisdom. And it has had nothing to do with the typical things that we're taught partnership is for or dependent on. It's an interesting baseline. Okay, what can we see for the divine feminines at this time? What do the divine feminines need to know? Create and heal. So create from your heart, from a healed place. Don't waste your energy on thinking that you don't have love. Know that the love is real. Free up your resources from suffering so that you can create from a healed place. What do the masculines need to know? I heard nothing. We're perfect. Haha. Okay, test fell onto the feminine cards, creating as though they are healed. So the masculines need to know that you might have a tendency to want to rush in and help and support your feminine, or to support feminine energy in general if you are not able to be that for your divine feminine because the universe pulled you apart. You might be feeling like you were tested regarding doing too much for feminine energy. This is assuring you, divine masculines, that what's happening right now with any spaciousness or distance in the connection is allowing your feminine to heal to the point where they can master their own creative expression without suffering. That they've come into handling their own energy because these connections haven't come together. The divine feminines have found that core within themselves, connected to source. What else do the masculines need to know? Trigger, flow, and joy. So there's still more mini tower moments of taking your thoughts captive, divine masculines, and balancing it out, setting the record straight, understanding who's accountable for what, and continuing to talk rational sense to yourself about your own, those three heartache swords, the stigmas, the misconceptions in society, the low vibe things that you've been telling yourself, and the low vibe things you've worried your counterpart thinks of you. There's still this rapid fire testing and triggering and call to go with the flow and to keep staying the course for joy. Okay, many blessings everyone, bye for now.